Welcome to the Say and Sit Down. We have some hard news this week, and we wanted to do a video and have our voices heard in the community. Akira Toriyama passed away earlier this month, March 1st, 2024, and obviously we're huge fans of his work.
Very surprising, like most of the community. I think we were all, I think that's the biggest shock. It was just a shock. I don't think anyone knew it happened. And it was even weirder because he passed away days after, like the note came out days after his passing. So we didn't even know for days. No one had a clue. No one even said anything. Just a note came out. We're going to talk about his work really quick. So obviously Toriyama is famous for Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super now. And also Daima, which is going to be that's something that he really was passionate about. But let's talk about Dr. Slump is one of the bigger series before Dragon Ball that got him on the map. This along with Sandland, which the Sandland show and movie will be coming out later this year. So I think in the next month or two in America. So I'm hoping there'll be a good response to those because of his legacy. He also did Chrono Trigger and Dragon Quest and also Blue Dragon on Xbox, if you remember those. Blue Dragon, I'm gonna just point out specifically because I'm sure most people in the West know more than even over in the East, because Xbox made a deal for Japanese studio to basically get a game over here because the original Xbox 360 and the original Xbox even didn't have that many Japanese titles, so they basically paid a company for exclusivity and they got Toriyama to design all those characters. So Blue Dragon is probably one of those later projects for video games. And then Toriyama's his later legacy now is that he really helped out on Dragon Ball Z Broly. He really brought Broly to the character he wanted to be instead of just being this mindless monster. He did, I think, the whole thing of him having a pet that then he then has to unfortunately kill on the planet because he has to survive on that planet, along with the fact of wanting to bring back, I think Frieza, part of it was him putting for Frieza to come back. Along with the Dragon Ball superhero movie, he heard fan stuff and he really pushed for Gohan to become a focal point again along with Piccolo. So Toriyama has been very active. He's obviously a huge influence on this community. Things like Hunter x Hunter, Yu Yu Hakusho, even Naruto, One Piece. A lot of these shows may not exist today without the blueprints of Dragon Ball. And his design is obviously very both iconic, and then you just know it's his. Like if you look at a Dragon Quest game, even if you've never played one, you're going to see the Dragon Ball characters in there because he has a style that just it translates. And I hope people like Sandland when that comes out later this year. It's a simpler story, but I hope that they appreciate the work he put into it way back in, I want to say, the 80s when he did it.
Well, obviously we're big fans of Dragon Ball. I was in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, I think. We're the mainstream outlet for manga and anime to reach the whole world. Obviously, there's every country on the planet. There's people who are big fans of it. Toriyama's role itself, though, and this is probably I think influenced both of us to go back and probably read more about him and everything. To me, it always did feel like Dragon Ball outgrew him a little bit in the way that it was obviously dubbed and it became this huge movie franchise and video games and all of this stuff. But he was still at the core of it, and all of these ideas, and like you're saying, the characters, and it all did come from mostly one person's brain. Pretty amazing, but he wasn't. I don't think he was that outspoken about it. His interviews were canonized in the Dragon Ball Z magazines and stuff, because he didn't speak about it that often. And sometimes, like you're saying, he was hyping up new stuff, and they'd ask him a Dragon Ball question. He didn't care that much about consistency and stuff. I think it was just frustrating for folks. He just wanted to have fun with it. Power levels and all that, he didn't care. He just had so many ideas. It felt like he was always throwing out these different things and evolving the series in different ways. And it is bittersweet because he was getting so involved in the franchise the last couple of years. And I guess we still get to see the benefit of that, but it's going to be tough to know that he's not actually there giving it to us.
I'm sure his notes will be passed on to predecessors, and they will figure out what can work in the current canon.
And it's tough to think about whenever this happens. He was the center of the whole franchise and endorsing basically any new, official release. And so at least, he'd comment on it. I don't know who that's going to be now.
It's very hard for the community to support. It's kind of like George Lucas owning Star Wars in a way. But the difference even there was Lucas did choose someone, and the difference is that person's still there at Disney, and that maybe this new person that is still working on the Dragon Ball Z show or the Dragon Ball Super stuff behind the scenes, maybe he will influence it and he'll know what Toriyama wants. But it's hard to tell because Toei has a lot of power and they could just want to do what they want to do. And because Toriyama's not there anymore, they may just steamroll everyone. But we don't know yet. I'm not saying that's. I'm saying it's a possibility.
There might be different factions where they go in the direction of like more of a Dragon Ball thing versus.
I was going to say
a TV special thing.
I feel bad for fans because what could also happen is that Daima, whether or not successful, could be a building block stone of what they want to do because that's what they think. Oh, that's what Toriyama would want.
Yeah.
But that might be not what fan wants, and we'll just have to see what they do. We really don't know because obviously this news just happened last week. There's things that are in motion that are going to be. There's already things that are happening. I'm sure they already have a Dragon Ball movie, not scripted, but in their mind of what's next and where the series is going to go next, and even where the manga is going. The manga is about to start a new chapter. We don't know what that's going to be, but there will be a new manga story starting very soon. If not, we're already kind of getting the beginnings of it. So our point is basically we just don't know where it's going to go, and we'll have to see. And hopefully they find a balance of what Toriyama would want, what fans want. I hope they try and make sure that everyone's happy in the end. We'll miss him because he was huge. I mean, whether or not you agree with everything he did, he'll always be one of my top artists just because of the fact that Dragon Ball Z is a show not only we're reviewing now, but I've watched a billion times before this. And even if I'm not part of the community, there's always something to bring me back in here. So
yeah, and what a legacy he left behind. So he will be missed.